to question number 2 now. What are the best business practices when it comes to utilizing data to achieve business optimization? So what are the best business practices when it comes to utilizing data to achieve business optimization? We've got all of the panelists who will be speaking on this. Who would like to jump in first?
Okay, I can
Rudy?
share my thought on this.
Fantastic. Yeah, so Rudy, for everybody, Rudy is feeling a little bit under the weather today. So if you hear him coughing or sniffing,
I apologize for that.
You know why.
At least my voice is deeper now while I'm having my flu. Okay, so about utilizing the data to drive a better business impact, from my experience, we used to be able to collect limited data because the capability was limited. And to make it more useful, usually the data is just as simple as being able to retain the customer. So for retention purposes, as we move into a period where the data is becoming richer, then we are also enhancing in terms of the people and the system. So we have an enhanced analytical capability. From there, then what we are able to do is to create or develop based on the consumer behavior. What are the channels they're going to? What kind of assortment that they're interested in? What pricing, timing when they buy? So, in my opinion, the difference between before and now and in the future is moving from a more active as a business to be proactive, because the goal is to create with this data is to create a predictive marketing. So creating the expectation and then making sure that we are meeting the expectation of the consumer. So that's how we are looking into data to be more predictive in terms of the consumer point of view.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rudy. Who would like to jump in next?
Okay, maybe I can something in. I think in terms of like the customer data, right? I think this is like what is the norm that people really like consider that for all the online business, because every transaction is being like doing on the online, and actually the data is already floating around like that. But definitely the challenge is not about only like how much you can collect it, but how you can really like refine it. Because actually, again, one of the things that is completely different from data collection from the offline retail, I would share from the retail perspective. Because when you go to a shopping mall, right, you would have like your member card, which is like your name, and register everything is your name and everything is your detail. And when you buy or you purchase, definitely you use your own membership. But for the online, actually, this is what we also learned from like within the JD group, that like for Thailand, sometimes actually for one account or one user, technically it's being used like for the whole family. So with this, actually, when you're looking at their like shopping pattern, definitely it would really be difficult to translate that. Okay, this Mr. A, they're spending like 5 days to buy diapers, but every once a month that they would buy like household product or like hand tools, which is when you are going through the stage of like, okay, you want to really how to create a CRM program to really retain them, or even like drive more impulse. Actually, this is really the challenge. And also another side is like how to really know that your customer is really your customer also, because I think this is really one of the challenges, because we have to admit that from the early stage of the e-commerce or the digital commercial, is coming with the mindset of like giving the best deal with a lower price. But of course, it's really giving the privilege to the customer to buy a good product. But at the same time, actually, it's also attract the resellers to really come and okay, yes, I can buy a lot and do the resale. So technically, I think this is one of the challenges that it's about that, okay, how you really refine the data and actually how you really utilize it. And also, I think another thing is that most of the platform is really challenged right now about like using the data is like how you really refine your algorithm. Because the thing is, the shopping mall, when you drive, right, you go to shopping mall, you just spend like 2 minutes buying stuff and going back home. You would really walk around, eating or do other activities. But For the online platform, actually, this is a challenge, how you can really creating the stickiness of the consumer to be on your platform longer. Okay, they might browse to one .com or one platform, and then, okay, today I want to buy milk, and then diapers and baby toys online. But after they check out, they might leave because actually they would really spending more time on the social media. But I think this is really like the next step, that how the company that can really refine the data and then actually creating something that creating the journey to sticky, creating more stickiness for the customers to spending more time, and also giving better chance for driving more impulse purchase. So I think this is really the next step for how to really utilize and maximize the benefit of data. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Fantastic points there. Nina and Eileen, I believe you're both going to jump in on this question as well. Nina, you're next on my screen. Do you want to jump in next?
Yeah, sure, of course. So for our brands, we started very, very small. So the data gathering tools that Rudy and Michael were referring to earlier, they were not available to us. But being a community-driven brand, we were able to gather data on a more personal level. So as a brand, we were able to ask our consumers, where do you want to shop our products? What kind of products do you want to buy from us? Where do you think should we open new branches? And those kinds of questions. So we gather their answers and we use those data to make data-driven decisions. And that's as simple as it can get for us.
Thank you, Nina. Eileen, over to you.
Sure. I would say one interesting practice we've done for one of my brand Uriage in the past, because I think we're at the stage that we have certain business size and transaction from a certain level of consumer, but we try to broaden this consumer base and attract more consumer to use our brand. So we've been very lucky to have the backend data from Alibaba. What we've seen is that, okay, on one side, for example, we had 10,000 basic consumer data. So we deep dive in what the other brands they were purchasing. So, you know, like nowadays, everyone is talking about, we want to attract Gen Z, but there are so many different categories of Gen Z, and they're so big, and you need to track them to make it more relevant. So one of the, I would say, marketing decision can be beneficial from this is that you look into the consumer who bought Uriage brand, but at the same time, maybe they also purchase a certain value of toys, maybe the purchase of certain value of the other products and other brands. And then we try to do a crossover campaign with some of these brands to generate more consumers from that. So it's more relevant, but beneficial for both of the brand to build, you know, the connections between the similar foundation of the groups. So I would say that's one of the practice we've done utilizing consumer data.
Fantastic. Thanks, Eileen. Okay, so we've seen predictive marketing, the use of our data, collecting data seems to be a huge thing at the moment. I think from my understanding, a lot of these e-commerce companies and social media platforms have somewhere in excess of 10,000 data points on each of us, which can be used for knowing what we're going to shop, how we're going to shop. But it's also interesting to hear from Michael that if we're sharing platforms and we're sharing accounts, it makes it very, very difficult for them to do this, and how will they get around that? Some very good points there. Thank you for that. So some of the key highlights. So obviously we touched on personalization, which will remain critical. Very important for Nina's brand from what she was saying, and making that experience very relevant to the consumer is very, very important. Data protection, this is something that's huge at the moment, obviously with all of the hacks and things that are happening globally. Making sure that your data is protected, making sure that you feel secure when you're online and shopping is very, very important. And perhaps even knowing what data you're sharing is something that a lot of consumers are interested in. And AI, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, algorithms which are able to know what we're doing and what we're wanting to do, sometimes even before we know. And obviously with the advent of quantum computing coming along, you can imagine this taking a huge step forward in the future as well. So some of the key highlights there. On